Ask yourself this question. What could happen in your life if you were just open to it? What magic could appear in amazing things, in amazing moments, in amazing coincidences if you just allowed it? That's something I talked about with today's stranger who took the time to listen to her intuition, and because of that, the universe showed her the way. Let's dig into it. Hi, I'm Matt Hayes, and thanks for checking out episode number 25 of Meet a Stranger. I met stranger number 25 at a Friendsgiving event in Mexico City. We had a nice chat and realized that we were very similar. We both moved from the Midwest to New York City, both went on a digital nomad journey, kind of letting the wind lead us to where we should be. She started hers early last year in 2022. She had a plan, but the universe in its normal universally way nudged her a little bit in a different direction. We talked about that and how she learned to trust herself, to be able to listen to those nudges and trust herself to act on them. Take a listen. So you've had an interesting year. From what you've told me, it seems like the way you started your year versus where you're at now is a completely different place than you thought you would be. So tell me what that journey has been like. Where were you at the beginning of the year, and where are you here near the end of 2022?
So the beginning of 2022, I did a spontaneous trip to Cartagena, and I was really in this space of nomadic travel and just kind of going where the wind takes me, going towards what I could afford. I was running my business, but things were not moving fast. It was just sort of steady, and I was keeping up with it the best I could. And then I was actually passing through Mexico City to get to my next destination in Puerto Escondido, and I just fell in love with the city. The vibe felt like home. It felt like I lived in New York for 10 years prior to traveling, so if it had the same feeling that I felt when I arrived in New York my first year there, of just like, there's something curious here. And I also met my now current partner, and so as I was here passing through for 4 days, I decided to extend my trip and extend it again. And I thought, okay, I was really looking to travel for the rest of the year. I was planning on going to Bali, to Europe, and continue sharing my journey online and all the things that I do. However, it was like the universe just sort of put this gift in my path of being like, but this is also an option of stability, of what would happen if I did have more space for my business to grow? What would happen if I did allow myself to fall in love? What would happen if I allowed myself the beautiful opportunity of living in a place where I don't speak the language? Like, what would a life be like here? And so I started warming up to this idea of it's okay for me to settle into a space again, like a physical space. It's okay for me to stop traveling so much and slow down a little bit, be a little more intentional, not have to deal with the stress of all the things that can go wrong with nomading and all the challenges that come with it. What if it could be easier, I think, was the main question. My theme of the year has been find the ease. And so I decided to go back to the States briefly. So I went, got some of my stuff, came back, and have been just forming a life here.
You said the word curious. I want to go back to that. You said, this feels kind of curious. You're kind of curious about this. When you feel that moment, when you were feeling that and you went down that path, what did that feel like? I think some people sometimes will have that moment, but they're afraid because they don't know what's on the other side. What do you do in that moment? How did you give yourself the trust to kind of play in that and move in that?
Excellent question. Okay, I think curiosity is one of the most incredible ways we can approach life, because we have two choices, and life comes down to choices, right? So we have two choices if there's ever a big obstacle or a big challenge. And I've taken a lot of big risks and big leaps in my life. So I've been in this space often of uncertainty and not knowing what does the path forward look like. And I learned very quickly that, it's like I can either go down this rabbit hole of doubt and fear and feel stuck, and we're never stuck is really the lessons that I've learned over the last 10 years, is that you can always change your life. But what helps is having that intention of curiosity and openness to be like, but it's not what if it doesn't work out, it's what if it can be better than I could ever imagine? What would that be like? What would that feel like? And am I willing to lean into that? And I think that leaning in and that trust, it's like a muscle. You learn it over time. And when you're tapping into yourself, your intuition, what do you really want, your needs, you learn kind of what vibes with you and what doesn't.
Have you always been confident in that? Or is it something that you've had to work on, and what did you have to do to get to that space to be able to play in that?
To play in like self-trust and being in uncertainty? Okay. I think it's a mix of both. Obviously, I've gotten more confident over the years because I have proved through my experiences that things are always going to work out. Like, I feel like we all go through these moments where it's like hardcore low in life. And sometimes you just have to surrender to that and be like, well, shit, like there's nothing I can do. So I'm just going to see what happens. However, I've always, since I was young, because I was born in Ohio, and a lot of people don't know this about me. I was born in Ohio, grew up in Minnesota in this like very kind of sheltered community. And I felt always this calling to travel, to experience something new. I wanted to be on big stages. I grew up as a dancer. So like really like New York was always the goal. And so I think it's been a mix of both. Like, was she born with it, or is it Maybelline? It's like a little bit of both for me. I think innately a part of my purpose I've learned is to be the person that goes first and takes the big risks and like shows other people that it's possible. So some of that has been natural, but definitely like for instance, moving to New York when I was 17, or leaving my, like high paying fashion job right out of college. Like I had this job in the fashion industry right out of graduating college that was everything that everyone wanted for me and family expected. And I was like, no, like my body doesn't feel good. I don't feel good. Life doesn't feel good. What would happen if I just leapt and left that? And it became a dark space. However, I think it's like being in the dark teaches us over time how to develop that self-trust. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
For someone that might be in that position where they are learning to be confident in their curiosity and taking that leap, what would you recommend to them? What would you say to them how to go about doing that?
Oof. Okay, tangibly, take 5 minutes every day to sit with yourself, period, and see what is actually happening. Get quiet enough to hear yourself and listen for the answer, and it will come.
It's such a little thing that we can do every single day, but it can make all that difference. Be still for just 5 minutes every day. Be 5 minutes to listen to what your body is telling you, what the world is telling you, what your mind and your heart is telling you. You might hear different things, but you just have to stop for a minute and listen. And usually within there, we can find the answers that we're looking for. We spend so much time trying to find the answers in front of us externally, but if we really just stop and listen to ourselves for a minute, quiet the world around us, and just tune into ourselves, that's where we can find the magic. Like I asked you at the beginning of the episode, what could happen in your life if you were just open to it? Thanks to stranger number 25, and since our conversation, her life has changed a little bit, again, and I wish you nothing but the best on your journey. And thank you, dear listener, for meeting a stranger today. Was there anything in today's episode that really stood out to you? What message did you get out of it? I love getting your DMs and hearing your stories. You can slide into my DMs anytime on Instagram at GoMeetAStranger or at Matt Hayes. Until next time, thanks for listening to Meet a Stranger. I'm Matt Hayes. Onward. Ask